We'd like to thank our sponsor, iZotope, the absolute leaders in design plugins for audio restoration, mixing, and mastering. At iZotope.com, you'll find a plethora of tools and suites that will enhance your audio production, whether it's voice, video, podcast, or a full production recording session. Check out the industry standard audio repair tool RX11, the multi-tool mixer plugin Neutron 5, or the powerful Ozone 11 mastering suite, plus tons more. Go to iZotope.com, use code FRET10 at checkout for 10% off. That's iZotope.com, and the code is FRET10, FRET10. DistroKid now also has a motherfucking app. The DistroKid app is available for iOS and Android.
You can now get an additional 30% off if you go to distrokid.com/VIP/cult. That's distrokid.com/VIP/cult.
Or you can get it in the App Store.
Fuck. All right, we're rolling.
Rolling.
Planet P
Presents
Cult and Culture Podcast.
Welcome to episode 52 of the Cult and Culture Podcast. I'm Justin Pearson.
And I'm Luke Kinshaw.
This episode has our friends Help, as in the band HELP.
Not to be mistaken for the Beatles.
Not to be.
You're not a cynical as I turn to stone. It's something about being alone. Fighting all the fire, but I still won't smoke. Bullets and vomit, but the gun won't load. There's nothing in the water, but I still drink. It's about everything, about everything. There's nothing in the garbage, and I still sing. It's about everything, about everything. Broken glass, suicide letters, beauty paths. It will get better. Head split open, body broken. There's something about being alone. All done, no good, no shot. Disguise, the cops didn't get there. The cops didn't get there. Hanging from a breaking bridge of dangerous waters. Or bring back the cops of the ones that followed. You want your chance to seize the day. Well, take that chance and go away. The look on your face is telling me you never liked me anyway. And I never liked me anyway.
Awesome band, wild live performance, and just fucking killer people.
Yeah.
They're just sick.
They crushed it.
Yeah, Bim steals the limelight in this upcoming podcast. Sorry, Ryan, but that shit is wild, fucking wild. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you have that whole Portland, I don't know, stereotype thing, and I think that like they, they acknowledge it, but they also like redefine this air quote like progressiveness of a city like that. Yeah, their political slant is insane.
Yep, absolutely.
Also, their musical style is bizarre in a great way. It's unique. It's creative, and they're not pigeonholed into like this or that kind of genre. I think that overall they're they give me hope for the future, I guess, which is rare these days.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess we should just jump into this. Enjoy this political rant. Here we go.
Hey.
All right. I'm Ryan, and I would like to be called Ryan.
Right on, Ryan.
I'm Bim, and I am Ryan's friend.
All right, let me ask you guys, what's up with the name Help? Let's start there. Like, this is like the most lamest question. I'm sure you get it in every interview.
You're going to say lamest band name.
No, question. No. Can we just get some information?
I have a real story.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's hear it.
Yeah, the real story. I was on tour with a band, and we were staying in LA at this like weird guy's like kind of compound. He's like maybe like a drug dealer or something, and we had the whole place to ourselves. And he had this huge like weight setup on the back patio, and all the other dudes were taking a nap, and I was like out there bored, and I tried to bench press this thing, and it ended up on my neck, and I couldn't get it off, and I was just yelling, "Help!" And then one of the dudes came out and like helped me off of it, and then we were trying to name the band, and that had been a running joke for like years. And I think Boone was the one who was like, "Wait, that's a great band name."
I didn't even know how we got our name. That's awesome.
Now you know.
I thought it was like You're the Help, you know? Like,
Yeah. But that's the reason why we went. Yeah, I mean, the reason why we went with it is because it is like we had a lot of conversations about like names that are like either aggressive or, you know, like there's just like different connotations for words, and help is a great one that can be taken every different way. You know, like it can be about us, about the world, about, you know,
The Beatles.
Mostly about the Beatles. We love the Beatles.
Yeah. Oh.
No.
No, but most people go, "Oh, like the Beatles song." I'm like, well,
No.
also it's a word.
Yeah.
They did not invent that word. We're not called Sgt. Pepper.
Well, the band name thing it's a tricky path. I mean, we're in Planet B, and everyone's like, yeah, like the environmental thing, or like that wasn't even a thing when we decided that. So you didn't win the band name lottery, but you were successful, and to some extent, I mean, it still keeps people asking or wondering or something.
Well, yeah. I think it's a good name. And Help I Fucking Need It is a cool handle.
Yeah.
That's the first lyric we ever wrote.
Really?
Yeah.
Ah, that's cool.
Yeah, and that was like when we didn't know what the band, we didn't even know you were going to sing in the band at that point.
Nope.
You know, and then you just screamed that, and we were like, "Oh, cool, Ryan's going to sing in the band now."
Cool. So you had the band name before the actual first lyrics?
Yeah, I think so. Or no, I think I just screamed Help I
I think
Fucking
you
Need
just
It.
screamed it, and that's when we were like, "Oh, Help is sick," and I had that. We had always been making fun of me going Help.
Oh, yeah.
somewhere in LA.
We decided we were going to be a band. We were like an idea for a year before we actually practiced. We were like, we should do a loud band, the three of us, because we all used to play super heavy music, and now we don't. And yeah, we just figured it out, I guess.
Wait, you're saying now you don't currently play heavy music?
No, at the time when we decided,
yeah.
when we conceptualized having a heavy band, I hadn't picked up a guitar in 10 years.
Whoa.
It was just like,
Yeah, and I was playing in a band that like had like some Fugazi type heavy stuff, but nothing that was like how Help is. You know,
Yeah.
like it was always still like
Melody and
yeah, exactly, yeah,
not brutal. It's pretty. I say this in a great way, a loving way. Obviously, I mean, I put out your record, but it's like pretty jarring at times. Your music.
Yeah.
I was like,
Good.
this is a bizarre shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to talk so much about the musical aspects because that's not everybody else can talk to you about that.
They can
but-
listen to the record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck them. I don't understand the like thing behind the tire. So can we talk about that? And then I want to dive into like the good shit, politics. So
Yeah,
let's talk about the tire.
you want the short version?
So-
no, there's only one.
Yeah.
I got a spare
So
tire.
for the
and
people listening and watching that don't know, there's a spare tire that lives on your on
there
the
is a
stage.
tire that lives in front of our kick drum, and at our first few practices, we actually just grabbed it out of the back of my van because we needed it to hold the kick drum in place, and now we just can't go anywhere without it.
So how are you going to Europe next month?
We are going to ask each venue if they can provide us with the spare tire,
gonna be on
or
our
try
rider.
to find one,
Yeah.
and hope that there's room in the Sprinter to bring it.
Yeah, the spinner should have one.
Well, that's the thing. They'll have a spare, and if they don't have a spare, the plan is to just jack up the front and take one of the wheels off each night,
That's so sick.
and then nobody will steal the van too.
That's fucking so sick. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
fuck a club. You
Yeah,
just take the wheel off.
Wow.
The other band that we're touring with doesn't know this plan yet, so it'll be real funny.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so we dove into some politics the other night at our show,
Oh, yeah.
and I would love to get into that if that's okay. It seemed like, I mean, whatever. This world's fucked, and I'm not trying to be a nihilist, but like you had a lot of like really interesting things to say. So let's just start with you running for mayor.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I ran for mayor of Portland in the 2016 election, just during the primary. So like from October 2015 through May as the primary there at that time. And I ran a campaign that was mostly about kind of like the roots of gentrification and how like external investment rather than internal investment causes rent hikes and all those things, and how art and music has largely been used as like a Trojan horse for those investors to like make what are considered unsafe neighborhoods, aka poor neighborhoods, into safe neighborhoods, and those then are knocked down and rebuilt into glass buildings.
Do you mean like when there's a ghetto?
Yeah.
The first sign
first
of
wave
gentrification is like the artists go there.
Yeah, the artists go there, and the artists can endure the whatever. They're basically like the tip of the spear, and then by the time the rest of it is thrust into the city and killed the heart of it, then the artists can't afford to live there. And so the campaign was largely about just bringing to bear the concept that you could have, instead of artists being used as a weapon against their own interests, they could build their own power bases if they would just engage directly with politics rather than indirectly with politics. And so
Okay, so I'm just trying. I just want to follow you. So there's like there's like the bad neighborhood, and I'm using air quotes or whatever. And then the artists go there because they're poor or
because
whatever.
it's cheap. Yeah.
And then all the like investors or like rich whatever, they see that and then they
use the
capitalize.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the artists should take more.
The artists should be politically organized to where instead of receiving the new rules around, say, development in a neighborhood, they should be dictating it. And the way to do that is to elect officials. I mean, the way to be politically organized. Either you could be. This can be done in a bunch of different ways. You can do it through political lobbying, which is like if you organize the industry of music towards political lobbying, then you could do it through campaign donations. You could also just do it through grassroots campaigning.
Sure.
You could just identify community members in the music scene that are electable and elect them, like run them as candidates and then have them sit in power. That would be another way to do it. There's probably a bunch of other ways I haven't thought of, but those are the two that we have done in Portland.
Yeah.
Like my campaign was largely started as a joke and remained really fun the whole time, which was super important, because to keep people engaged in politics, it's important that it's not scoldy or too serious, like it should be fun and like silly, and in my view at least. And like that I think the proof of that is like Trump has won the presidency twice based on like allowing his constituents to be stupid and silly and say words that are otherwise scolded, and all that stuff has like been a functional tool for them politically.
So you're talking about the Helps MAGA base?
Yeah, Helps MAGA base. It's just riddled with R words. So they're like, but there is some truth to it where it's like you have to be the party that people want to go to, and that was a large part of how I was campaigning, was trying to show that you could be somebody who had like all these like, for the general population, pretty like far left views, but you wouldn't be like the annoying Marxist at the party who's like bumming everybody out,
Yeah.
Like,
what was his name that ran in Texas that was like, Beto
O'Rourke?
Yes, and how he was like in a punk band, but then like, I feel like maybe he shied away from that. Like, don't look at that. That's like, because you would think like the mainstream would be like punk, anarchist, Antifa, whatever,
Yeah, and that was an interesting case because what happened is that Beto was like kind of not very successful politician, then had a moment through the internet and then got brought into the fold from the insider Democratic Party, and like kind of the pundit class was like, we love these guys, and his campaign. And at that point, he shifted all his rhetoric. And so he kind of like, the thing that got him popular was the thing he had to throw away to get the money from the DNC, which is the case with Obama's election. It's the case with many Democrats of like, the thing that we elect them for is also the thing that the machine behind them that like exercises their power when they're seated is the thing that says you're no longer allowed to do the grassroots thing. You now just like take DNC money, which is essentially Halliburton money, war money, and like you're not allowed to like be chill anymore, essentially.
So the two powers are just the same.
Exactly. I mean, it's
what powers, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Zappa quote is still true today of the like, politics is the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex, and that's exactly what's happened. And so like, if you need one of the established parties in order to be elected, you may as well not be elected. And so that's what I mean when I say like, artists creating a power base where they can actually elect from their own people and have their own power base to do it, to like achieve a 51% vote. If you can't do that without outside money, then you may as well not even do it at all. You know, so you have to actually build from zero to have a successful shot, you know.
And maybe now might be the time, because I remember like as like a youngster, like in my young, like 13, 14, you didn't really have people that were like into punk or hardcore or any kind of alternative style of art that were like 30 or 40.
Totally.
Everyone, you know, like who were the, you know, like Johnny Rotten was fucking 30, you know, and like, and so now that like people of our age group are, they are like Beto or whoever that's in office, or they have the like ability to kind of take us all into the fold.
Yeah, and I mean, that was like the headline when I ran in Portland, was all the like national outlets that covered it, where the headline was "Punk runs for mayor of Portland."
Yeah.
You know, and like the reason why that's like a funny headline that they want to run is that whoever wrote that when they were growing up, that meant, you know, 18-year-old drunk kid runs for mayor. That's what the coded, that's what they were trying to say, you know, like, and then when you show up with a real platform with real policy that actually is competitive and actually better and more desirable policy than these hugely expensive campaigns are developing. I mean, I was running against a candidate who spent $850,000 between October and May and got 51% of the vote. I spent $800 and got 2.5% of the vote. If you look at like the effectiveness of my ideas, they're far more effective than Ted Wheeler's ideas were, but he won because he has the money to overcome his
which is
lack
why
of
we are where we are right now
imagination.
with the administration.
Yeah, and that's why like things like that we've forgotten recently, like Citizens United, are like actually the top issues for me still. That like corporatism is the main reason why we don't have democracy.
Yes. So I trip out on like Jello running for mayor, and that
he was my North Star for that campaign.
Totally.
I was shaking a lot of babies and kissing a lot of hands.
But then there's like there's like the footage of him like vacuuming the sidewalk outside of Diane Feinstein, and like I get that, and I think that maybe that might translate really, really well now with like social media. But back then, I think people were just like, "Fuck this guy."
Oh yeah.
Or like the woman holding the sign was like, "If he doesn't win, I'm gonna kill myself." Like that's genius shit right there.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, if we could get the Jello level of, not that you're not like, not that helps like up to par with the dead Kennedys, but like he had a lot, I think, rallying behind him at that juncture.
Well, I mean, the thing that is important to remember is that like the theory of change is unsettled. You know, like we don't really know what actually works to change the world. Like and so that's to me like inspiring, because like what Jello didn't work technically, but it also did, you know, like it's like we know about it still now, and so it's like we're building on that still.
We had it in San Diego
like,
because he was campaigning with our friend Bob from Bound Communications that also ran for mayor. But he was kind of like, Bob was very similar to Jello in the antics and also the era that they were running for politics. I think now if we could have that again, it might be more impactful.
Yeah, like one example would be like this last election cycle, I was working with a candidate for mayor named Viva, who's a stripper, who's like famous for speaking out for sex work as a legitimate part of our society. And she's brilliant. And her campaign was inspired by me doing it because she was thinking of herself as somebody who wasn't allowed to do that. And then somebody did it and got a lot of press and all that, and that opened up a door. And then the really cool part about that is that then in the intervening 8 years from when I had run, and I didn't know what I was doing really when I ran, I'd spent a lot of time in politics doing work in nonprofits and doing all these other things and doing direct lobbying through those nonprofits, to where then I was able to advise her campaign on actual policy that would make sense. And so there's kind of like a dynamic, virtuous circle that happens once people start to engage, and especially if they can engage in a way that's like fun and it keeps them coming back, rather than this like goal-oriented version of politics feels very defeating to me, where like seeing politics more as like an activity that I do for fun is way more sustainable than me being like, if we don't stop this pipeline, then we've failed. Like that doesn't work. Like you've succeeded if you were enjoying engaging in that fight.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's what the people, but I'm not the first person to recognize this. This is called the struggle. You know, like, that's what it is.
Or
and, like, you just do it because you fucking do
Should
it.
be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
In
and
the
like,
process of being like,
yeah, and if you just
activist.
accept that it's the rest of your life, then all of a sudden you have to figure out how to make it like a good time.
Well, fun's
you
an
know?
interesting word because I always think like I would say like, this sounds a bit egotistical, and if I am, I don't care, I guess. But like, I feel like it should be like righteous, you know, like it's fun. Like fun's like, yeah, like let's drink beers,
Yeah.
or like fun, or like righteous is like that was fucking sick. We
Yeah,
burned
yeah.
down that Tesla.
Yeah, it's the
dealer,
thing to
you
do.
know, like,
Yeah, that's the thing.
Not
You're
fun.
right. Yeah, fun is maybe the wrong word for some people. For me, it's the right word because I think it's fun to burn down a
Yeah,
Tesla. You know, yeah, it's awesome. Like,
But you were-
and you don't
you
even
were-
have to
Help
burn
wasn't a
them. You
band
just
then,
get
right?
it. What's that?
Help wasn't a band when you were doing that.
No.
Because I wonder if that would have like been good or bad for you, or good or bad for the band if it.
I was in another band at that point, and it was both. You know, like it was good for the band and it was bad for the band because I did that a lot with that other band. I would do things that eclipsed that band, and then it was kind of like anytime we'd get press for the band, it'd actually be about
Your
Rickskit Ball or about me or about some other shit that I was doing, and that was kind of like lame. You know, like I would
Well-
have preferred they just write about the band. You know, like
Yeah, but it's at least they're writing about anything better than like Taylor Swift or something, you know?
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
But
'Cause-
I know what you're talking about. It'd be like,
yeah. Like I was always like grateful to get.
crazy drummers doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they're playing a show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But like that's better than not
Yeah.
getting
Oh
noticed,
yeah,
I guess,
yeah.
you know.
No, it's definitely better to get visibility and then people honestly are going to listen to the band or not, and then they're going to decide if they like it or not. You know, it's like it probably worked the same in the
Anytime
end.
someone asks if they can interview the tire, I feel like it really takes away from the value of our music.
Yeah.
Oh, the tire. Yeah, because it kind of serves as a prop too. Like I see you like
That's
laying
great.
around in it and shit. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's comfortable. I got my legs stuck in it once.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
I'm always afraid you're gonna fall and like break an ankle or like your guitar or something. You're like that's
Yeah,
you know,
I've rolled my ankle a couple times real bad.
Yeah.
because
The
of a
last one was
fucking
like
tire that you don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last one I just stepped off the stage
Yeah.
in Bellingham and it was dark.
Yeah.
I don't mean to throw you under the bus here, but you didn't need it in Long Beach because there was those like mounted pieces.
Oh yeah.
No, it wasn't even mounted. See, okay, so here's the thing with the tire is that from my end, I'm playing on a mid-60s Slingerland. It's a 24-inch kick that wants to tip over, basically, wants to tip forward. And I have a block on my rug, like a regular wood block. But a wood block doesn't do the same thing as a wood block with a tire up against it because the wood block kind of like, how to say this in a way that podcast people will understand, it kind of like angles it up towards the drum
Sure.
and keeps it from rocking forward, but it also has enough springiness from the tire that it can like move a little bit, but
Yeah.
it doesn't end up having to like shift it forward.
Got it.
So I never have to readjust the weight
Yeah.
or anything.
Yeah.
Or
It legitimately is like a different world if I play without the tire. For
The
me,
first
at
time
least.
we played together,
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Where's the tire?" And you're like, "We got it." I'm like, "What the fuck is up with this band?" You know, I didn't know the thing. I just heard someone say that when you were loading in, and I was
Our
like,
stage plot includes the tire and
Yeah.
George Bush on it. We have a banner with George Bush, and we play the show with explosions in the sky for True West in Portland. And the people who received the stage plot were like super pro, so they were like taking it seriously. And our sound guy was like, "You got to take that off your stage plot." They're literally asking me where George Bush is going to be, and they're, like, running a mic line. And I was like, "Yeah, but it's so funny." And I mean, most places that we play, they're not. You send them the stage plot and they don't even look at it.
Yeah.
But this particular one,
Most places that we play, you send them an email and it goes into the ether for the rest of the time. And it's just
Yeah.
some guy smoking a clove indoors or whatever.
Have you guys had any mishaps with people based on the political slant that you guys kind of, like Class War Now, I feel is like a really
It's
relevant.
universal.
It's a great statement, and also it's a little bit like, I don't mean this in any disrespect to like assholes, but like Class War Now is a little bit more like highbrow than like ACAB or something, you know, like, so I feel like
100%,
people
yeah.
aren't able to be like, wait a minute, you know, like
Yeah.
not able to kind of combat
Yeah.
you. But have you had any shit? And like,
I mean, we've had the main shit that we've gotten is that there was a photo of Ryan's 5150 amp head, and somebody hit us on Instagram being like, "Oh, guys saying Class War have a really nice amp," and
Oh yeah, like you guys have nice gear.
yeah, which is just like
That's how you sound.
I mean, how much is a 5150 used?
I don't know. I think
we got it cheap. I remember we got a sick
$900 or
deal on it.
something.
Yeah, and the thing that's funny about that is just that it's like a classic case of like misunderstanding what class war is about.
Of
And
course.
like the class war concept is about billionaires. It's about class stratification, like the distance between people who are able to make money through producing value in the world and people who make money by extracting value from all those.
And
other
then you got
people.
some fuckhead on
and
Instagram
like so like
talking
all
shit.
of us,
Yeah.
all of us down here. And down here these days can include a fucking millionaire. Like I know
it's crazy.
millionaires that
Yeah.
are broke in
Yep.
LA.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
and like
crazy.
and that's okay with me. I associate with that person as much as I do with Ryan.
Yeah.
It's just like somebody who's like literally in a different stratosphere of like billionaire like ownership class stuff. That's the problem.
And you wouldn't even know our band well enough to be mad at us if we didn't sound loud and awesome. And that's why.
Yeah, I mean,
that's why I bought the 51.
yeah, that's the other thing is it's just like, yeah, you're only going to hear about the band that's like, well, this isn't true, but hopefully you'd only hear about the band that like is actually good. And you have to have equipment to be a good band. Sorry. We're not, like that's, you just have to have a certain amount of gear. And that
I mean,
shit
you can
costs
get
money,
by.
you know?
You can get by with junk gear
Yeah.
to an extent, but
Yeah.
like if you want to, but also it's like people are like, yeah, you're. So you have this expensive air quote amp, and you're making like $100 a night.
Yeah,
or
no,
whatever,
exactly.
And you're like, get the fuck off my back, man.
Yeah. Well, not just that, but it just comes straight down to the thing of like, I understand the instinct, like everybody's really fucked by the system that we're born into here, and like, there's a certain amount of like, just like understanding that I try and have when that causes somebody to lash out. And like, what lashing out is somebody who's just as fucked as me trying to do something about it. And I just happen to be the only face that their fist can reach. And so I'm like, like, that's fine, like, but we need to make a ladder, or like figure out how to reach a little bit farther than our arm here.
It's so crazy. We're talking about hunching up. Did we talk about that? Because I feel like it keeps coming up over and over lately.
It's because it's a core concept. It's basically like, that's kind of what I would call like just a fundamental to those things, to stuff like class wars. Like, you have to realize that there's a thing like in intellectual bullshit about the tragedy of small differences. And this is like the guy who wrote that Bureaucracy of Rules and Debt, the First 5,000 Years, David Graeber.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and like that tragedy of small differences is where it's at. That's what class war now is really like. If I'm going to rewrite history, that's what it was about.
So what do you think? Like the person that was talking shit was just like, oh, you have to be poor to say that. Like,
Well, not just that, but I'm like, I even think of like political stratification of left and right being a tragedy of small differences.
of course,
I'm like, all these people who are like pissed off
because they're taught
right next to me. I'm like, yeah, they're pissed off, and then like they've displaced their anger on like immigrants or on gay people or on whatever, and really like most of it is a class issue. If you look at like statistics, like the statistical number of people at January 6th who have been foreclosed on in 2008 is huge.
Yeah.
Like you see these like economic traumatic events in people's lives that lead to them being radicalized into bigotry. And then they exercise that against other people who had similar economic shit happen to them. All of a sudden, we're all at each other's throats.
Yeah.
When like Bezos is like $100 billion more rich than he was, like I can't even do the numbers.
Yeah.
Like they're too insane.
Oh, yeah.
Like in 2018, Bezos could have bought a house for every homeless person in America and still been the richest person in America.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Wild ass shit.
I'm like, guillotines are what's needed. It's obvious to me.
But there's like the whole thing where people are like, oh, Elon's a good guy. And like, well, what is he, where's his philanthropy if he's like the richest? Or
Well, philanthropy is just like after you kill me, you give me a good funeral.
what do you mean?
The anti.
You've taken all the fucking money out of the system. They're just putting money back in. after the
I think
harm
that-
was
I
taking the
would-
money in the first
I
place.
think there's good
Just don't fucking take the money in the first place. I think philanthropy is better than taking the money and not doing philanthropy. But philanthropy is like, you don't dare minute. Yeah, you know, like that's like, and it also is a little bit fiefdom-ish to me. I'm like, philanthropy is basically deciding what social goods matter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just pay your fucking taxes if that's the case. Like, if you want to give back the money, just pay the taxes and then have at least represented officials decide what social goods matter, rather than you running around saying like, oh, I'm going to make $1 billion and then I'm going to give 100 million, which feels like a lot, but it's actually not.
Yeah.
To my issue, to the thing I care about, rather than the thing that society decided collectively that they care
Which all like
Billionaires
if you
are
let-
doing. Or
yeah, and if you let society decide what they care about, what they actually care about is fucking billionaires. They're the problem. It's not like malaria that's the problem. It's billionaires cutting off the water source so they can do big agriculture in a country that doesn't need it. You know, like it's usually the philanthropy is to cover up some other worse harm that they're doing by their initial extraction of the money, what they're then using to do philanthropy with. So I don't.
Okay, so fuck 5 this or
I got it.
Yeah, so it's funny though, like the hating downwards aspect was really interesting to see during the January 6th riots, because all of a sudden, like, the right were like, oh, we're gonna kill cops. I'm like, fucking about time. Like, we're all on the same page with one thing now, that cops suck.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait a minute, hold on. And so there's like this back and forth bullshit on like authority, and that's the fucking real mind fuckery. I'm like, wait a minute, who are you guys mad at? You know?
Well, that's the like, what do they call it? It's called a repositioning. There's a name for this. I call it the party flip, but there's a more technical name for it, and it's when the parties kind of like flip their social agendas, and they never flip their agendas on like the actual issues that political parties are for, like militarism and statehood and all these like things, policing, all that stuff. But they do flip on social issues, and we're in the middle of one now, and we're seeing like the reorientation of how political parties are willing to deal with kind of what are known as like inciting members. So like there's a theory of riots where it's about thresholds. So like grandma will throw a brick through the Chase Bank window if a bunch of other grandmas do it right in front of her, but she won't do it on her own. And in this case, what you have is like,
So January 6th is full of grandmas.
it's a bunch of brick throwing grandmas. No, but basically, throughout history, like teenagers have been the low threshold people, so they do the crazy shit.
Yeah.
And then 20-year-olds and mid-20s people like will do some of it because the teenagers are doing it, and then so on. It gets more and more diffuse from there. What you see in the like MAGA Trump January 6th thing is through virility of media and the speed of social media, you have a threshold lowering of people who otherwise would never have engaged in something like that. They're exposed to so much of it that
Lowering, but
so
hiring
their
a higher
likelihood
age.
to do something that otherwise would be crazy for them to do goes up and up and up. And that's true on both sides of political spectrum.
Not on the left.
No, it is on both left, right side. On the left, it's not done through physical action. It's done through scolding. So you're more and more likely to police each other's behavior.
the Karens
the
on the
more you
left,
see that policing behavior is a way to get power.
Of course.
And that's what cancel culture is.
Of course.
You know, and that like, and so on the right, you have it through like violence. On the left, you have it through social hierarchy. And both of them are these cases of basically like people not realizing that they're engaging in a thing that's just kind of them being influenced by what they watch. It's basically TV culture, but in your pocket.
I can't wait for the aliens to come in, and not the illegal ones, the space ones, and then be like,
You don't want the illegal ones?
I want them to come
Yeah,
in.
I want them to.
I mean,
Actually, yes, all the aliens.
We're all illegal. But like when the space aliens come, it's like, oh, you guys have been fighting over race, you fucking dipshit. There's like
exactly.
this other thing
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
Like, you know, fucking.
Dude, let's go on aliens for one moment. I'm not super into aliens, but I do really subscribe to one theory of aliens, which is that they are they're us experiencing a time difference. And so like we figured out how to do time travel, but the way that it works is that you accidentally engage with the wrong timeline. And so they're just us from way in the future, and they don't know that they're here. So basically they're like using a wormhole to go to a different time. And as they're doing that, they're bumping into our timeline.
Okay.
Which is why we like can observe them, but they don't seem to really actually give a shit about us.
Yeah,
They're just kind of like around. And it also is like a very positive take on it because what it means is that we made it. It means that we survive into this technological future where you're able to do time travel and shit.
I would only hope, but
So it means we're on the right track.
Okay.
Essentially.
It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, but we don't know best. I mean, we don't even know what the future is yet.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
I was on DMT one time, and I like had the vision of like aliens are just us. It's just the next step of evolution for us.
Yeah.
And then we right now are the re-evolved onto this earth.
Yeah.
So I think it just kind of just repeats
Oh,
itself.
totally. And if you look at
repeats
like
itself.
oral histories throughout history, you know, like if you look at like pre-written and like I think of written word societies as manipulative societies and oral societies as like truth-telling societies because it's so much easier to lie with a story that you can like write down and then remove parts of. And,
You mean like the Bible?
yeah, exactly. Like the Bible, the only book I've ever read because it's so good.
Yeah. Greatest story ever told.
Yeah, but that like the oral traditions all have this fucking Ouroboros or if not like a dick metaphor of a snake, then they have like a uterine one of the Orphic egg is like, you know, like all these things are like cyclical or like my favorite version of it is like instead of there being like a chicken and egg, we are the time and space between chickens and eggs. And that's like what actually matters is like the in-between part. And that's what we're doing. Is you know, rather than it being like we're not the thing, we're we're the like space in between the thing. And that like that's why all art and music is about the space in between, or it's about the reaching for the note rather than like hitting the note. You know, like it's all about the noise rather than the signal. And that's like what humans
not
do
everyone
so
feels
well.
that way because people think what we all do is garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not in the.
Yeah,
We're definitely
but they're
not in the
fucking
know.
wrong. Yeah,
I mean, I guess you could say like it kind of like the other night when the gentleman from Nervous Gender was like, all the sounds were like. I don't know if he said nasty or disgusting or something, but I'm like, oh, that was a compliment, and he meant it as a compliment.
Yeah.
But like,
I would have said trashy and also a compliment.
of course,
The synth sounds.
But
It's like, yes.
but all the things that we kind of are trying to achieve isn't supposed to be. I mean, pretty music's great, but like we're not trying to make it pretty. We're trying to connect because like even like the chords you play are like sad or you know like or I don't know, like I mean it's just or the words you're saying, you know, that you connect through these things that aren't supposed to be like fun. They're supposed to be righteous or whatever, you know.
I mean, that's why like when we're having our first practice and Ryan just screams, "Help! I fucking need it," and it comes out of the ether. We're like, yeah, that's the real thing. Where like if you try and write it down on purpose, it's just not gonna have that, you know, because you're gonna do it too well if you like can use an eraser and then rewrite it. You know, like it's like
if I'm ever like Bim and I toss lyrics back and forth a lot, or I'll like be like, all right, here's some ideas that I have, and he'll kind of like pop some things in and out. But I always, every time, even though we've been in a band for 5 years, I'm like, remember, I'll be screaming these over cool music.
yeah,
It
exactly.
might look dumb on paper, but it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, and like and with lyrics too, like lyrics that read really well absent music, in my view, are usually like really bad lyrics. Like the ones that are good lyrics are lyrics that only work if they're in the song they're a part of.
Of course,
you know, in the same way that like I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure if I have a personality when I'm alone. You know, like it's like everything is dynamic. You know, like I'm right now. I'm Bim version this room with these people.
Yeah,
And that's how it should be.
Yeah.
You know, like, and like if that's not the case, then I'm a fucking sociopath. You know, like I'd be sitting here being like, okay, here's exactly what I'm like.
I mean,
you know,
you
like,
do see that in music when there's like the songwriter or like the person.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you have the hired guns.
Yeah, and it's a mechanized. It's like that's just like a perversion of art, like any factory floor would be. You know, like it's like I've been doing chainmail jewelry for a living for 25 years, and my main job. Yeah, look at this shit, podcast listeners. Look at that. And my main job is to avoid success, because success for somebody who's doing a kind of art that's reproducible and in manufacturing is a factory job. Like I would work myself into having the worst factory job. And so I have to constantly shoot myself in the foot and like make sure everything's fucked up and like change my process, or like as soon as it's working, it's over. Like I
But
have to throw it away.
That's with jewelry. But do you apply that to music as well?
Oh, big time. Yeah, that's true for music too. Like you have to kind of throw it away at some point, you know. And that's like, it's also, I feel that way with like how we are with studio time. We try and go in almost ready.
Of course.
You know, and like,
Yeah.
but if you go in totally ready,
When are you ever
you're
really,
fucked.
really ready,
Like
though?
you're gonna end up trying to get a perfect take of a perfect whatever, and
I'm
it'll just sound
usually,
like robots. You know,
like-
like who cares?
Wait till the very last hour to do the vocals, and I'm like, I'm still working on the lyrics.
Yeah.
The dude who already
Yeah.
always records this, he's like, no, they're done. Be ready. You're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. You're
yeah.
right.
And then Ryan and I are like frantically over there, like, should he say butt or ass?
Both are good words, though. As long as you're saying one of the two in every
Yeah.
song.
Yeah. Well, it's a love song, so it's probably ass.
But
Yeah.
It is. It's like if you create perfection, then you're no longer needed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. You're no longer needed, and you're also kind of arrogant for thinking that's possible.
Oh, the
you know,
people
like
that
it's
think
kind
their
of
shit doesn't stink, they're always
yeah, you know, yeah. Like I'm always just like the worse the better. That's yeah.
that's what we called this tour, and then our van broke.
Yeah, then my van exploded. I was like, well, not that kind of worse.
like,
Maybe.
yeah. when I got the text, they were like, "Do you know anyone in the Bay Area?" And I was just like, "Oh,
Fuck.
Like I felt like so much pain for you
Yeah,
guys.
you were like,
you know?
oh, will I see you in Long Beach? Yeah, you will.
I just looked at my
Figure it
phone for
out.
a while, and I'm like, "Don't do this to me." And I wasn't even in the van, you know.
Yeah.
I wasn't even in your band. I was just like, "Fucking A," like not like to you guys, but like I meant like the universe.
Yeah.
Like, don't fucking
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah, that was maybe the wrong spell to cast, us calling the tour the worse the better. Because then the tour just like really took a shit on us.
Yeah.
That's just how we feel about like when we are writing a song or making music, though. It's like, that part sounds real not that good. Perfect.
Yeah. What's the we have a oh yeah, that's such a bad idea that it just might not work.
Yeah, but the like the inability to be flawed is in your brain. You know,
Yeah.
I feel is like the biggest disservice you could do to any of your art.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy because there's a lot of that. A lot of people do that. It's
Yeah.
just I cannot wrap my head around it.
Well, what it comes down to is vulnerability, and vulnerability is how you is what love is.
Yes.
And like if I want to be like in a like meaningful relationship with somebody who's like engaging with my art, first thing I have to do is expose myself.
Of course.
You know, and like if I really think that I'm able to make something perfect, who the fuck wants to go engage with that? Like, you know, that's worship, not like
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like that's like what that's why the Bible's evil, because it thinks
Sure.
it's right. If
Yeah.
it just would be like, this is probably wrong, but here,
Yeah.
then a bunch of that shit is like cool, actually. You know, like there's a ton of stuff in there that's fine as long as it's not the word. You know,
course.
like that confidence is the evil part.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, now we have everyone like freaking out over like who uses which bathroom. It's like I don't give a fuck where anyone pisses their shits. I'm worried about Matt Gaetz coming there and fucking raping 12-year-old girls. You know,
Yeah.
like that's and everyone's freaking out about like trans kids or people using a toilet. And I'm like, dude, I don't care where anyone poops. Shut the fuck
Yeah,
up.
and it's good to remember that the people who sow those seeds of hate are just people who are trying to get rich off of us being distracted.
But even that,
You know, like
but-
that's the main deal. And like there's a bunch of people who swallow that punch, and yeah, they're being evil as fuck and doing shit that's like super rude and like not cool. But they're dupes. You know, like it's like those are people who you can actually those are people who got tricked into having those like hateful beliefs,
Of course.
by people who find those hateful beliefs useful to maintain the power structure
course,
that exists. And so our way out is our forgiveness, our capacity to integrate our enemies into our movement.
So-
That's how you win. Otherwise, you'll always be in this endless battle that's been set up for us forever.
Well, that's a good example too because fuck, I wanted to talk about something else, but also like so when this comes out, our previous guest was Waddy from The Exploited, and he had bumped into like neo-Nazis in like the 70s and 80s or
Yeah.
whatever. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
different era, you know.
Yeah.
And we talked to him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not a Nazi.
Yeah.
Fuck that."
Yeah.
But like we just posted a picture of him, and people are like, "You're having a fucking Nazi
Yeah,
on
yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
podcast." I'm like, "Dude,
Yeah.
shut the fuck up, man!" Like
Yeah.
it's crazy how quick people are to. Having a conversation with him helped me. It was
Yeah.
great, and
Yeah.
I don't really want to have conversations with fascists or the oppressor.
Yeah.
But I would rather have dialogue with them, in hopes that I can change them,
Yeah,
or at least have them see my side, because I feel like maybe they lack that intellect.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is like, everybody's hurt by being in an enclosure, and like the more you can open up everybody's worlds, the better it gets. If you believe in truth, if you think that you're actually right, then you should be happy to engage with people who should come your direction. Like if it's scary to have a Nazi in the room, why is that scary intellectually? Like to me, it's not scary at all to engage with somebody who has wrong beliefs, because the longer we talk, the closer they come to my side, because I think I'm right about that stuff.
Of course.
And so to me, it's just like a lack of confidence in your beliefs. If you think that you can't engage with people on the other side, it just means that you're scared that they're right.
Yeah, but also like maybe everyone's so quick to just like not like dismiss them. I had this thing where there was a point where
think that you can delete them. People don't get deleted. Like this is internet thought. Like canceling is like a product of a keyboard layout where you can hit a delete button. Reality doesn't have delete buttons. Those guys just become crazier the more you push them away.
But I mean, okay, I guess I see what you're saying with like in the ether, but like, I can't remember how many years ago it was, at least 10 or more. But I had posted this thing where Anonymous doxed all these Ku Klux Klans members. Yeah. And I posted on Facebook, and all these people were weighing in, and one person chimed in and was like, this article, it was posted by like The Guardian or something relevant to media back then, and he's like, you realize like this is like good PR for the Klan, and he was being very truthful, not trying to like poke everyone, and everyone's like, fuck you, fuck this, just going like to town on him, and I looked at him, and he was the Grand Dragon of somewhere in Tennessee, the purple one, like he was like the the higher up, whatever, and I was
Barney?
Like not dinosaur. That's a good one. Red dinosaur. That'd be funny if there was like a dinosaur with a pointy head.
Really fucking funny.
But everyone was like just shitting on this guy, and I don't know how this happened, but like him and I had our own dialogue, and I definitely was very cautious about what I was saying, because I was like, well, I'm going to go on tour and I'm going to play in Nashville, and this guy can just shoot me. He's got a bunch of guns on his Facebook, it was legit. But we ended up having this conversation on the side where like everyone was just like, fuck you, and he was kind of like laughing at them. I mean, he's a piece of shit. He's a fucking Klansman. He's a fucking piece of shit. I'm not, but like we had this other conversation, and our conversation went to and ended on the fact that at the time he thought Dave Chappelle was the best comedian on the planet, and I'm like, whoa, a black guy, this is like the funniest comedian, and he's like, and he cited that the skit where the Klansman's blind. But and he was like, it was not that I want to have shared humanity with this piece of shit or this evil person, but I wanted to have dialogue, and I wanted to like not only understand where he's going or how he got there, but I wanted to have dialogue to where I can say like, listen to me, because I will speak the truth, and I will say you're wrong or whatever. And I feel like I don't know, like a lot of people were kind of mad at me for doing that. I'm like, I don't know, like fuck that guy, but like no one's gonna benefit from me just like middle finger emojis over and over, like it doesn't matter.
You wouldn't have
well actually no, somebody will benefit, and that somebody is Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay.
Like, and these are the people who are plundering our dialogue.
Of course.
Like these are the people who are like, basically the first industrial revolution was about resource extraction from planet Earth. The second one is resource extraction from human beings, from our nature, from our kindness.
Of
like
course.
that's what's being extracted now. Is our ability to be compassionate with people we disagree with, and our ability to trust that doesn't mean anything about me, other than that I'm compassionate. It doesn't mean I agree with that guy if I'm nice to him. Period. It just doesn't. And like that's what we've forgotten, is that like that's a better world, one where more people are being better to each other.
That's crazy shit right there.
Yeah, people don't like that kind of stuff on the internet though.
Damn it, did it stop again?
But yeah.
Well, I don't mean to throw you guys under the bus here about like being from Portland, but like I feel like, and I like Portland a lot.
Actually, it's not a bus up there. It's called a rapid transit.
I mean, I you know, I don't know how you guys feel about Portlandia, but I think like I think it's a brilliant show, and all those skits like seem like pretty spot on.
Yeah.
But then it's like I wonder like how you guys can come from there and like say the shit you're saying and not have like had some kind of not like backlash, but like you know, I don't know. Like,
So we'll see after this comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
guess I would say I'm a very savvy political operator then. Like,
yeah.
what in Portland, what I've learned is how to make yourself clear enough that they don't come after you for semantics, because you're actually saying something worth hearing. You know, like I'm not fighting semantics with semantics. I'm just trying to figure out what is a functional way to operate in this world with my like moral core intact and my belief that it's kind of our job to help change the place. You know, and like that, like for me comes from a true enough place that I don't think they come at me for it, because they're actually like, oh, I agree. You know, whether or not they can like get their head out of their ass.
Well, they're so quick to like put you under the microscope and be like, you said this, or you did this one thing, or
Yeah.
I saw this.
Oh, and that happens, you know, but that's just like whatever, you know, like that's just the eternal high school of America, you know.
I mean, it just seems like it's been ramped up on the left, and it's just we're gonna just fucking.
It's
destroy
big time.
ourselves.
Yeah, there's just like a million ACAB cops, you know, like, and that's just like reality in Portland. But there's a long history of protest culture in Portland that's had its issues with internal fighting. And I grew up around that. I grew up in Eugene, and I grew up around a lot of that same stuff and like the ELF stuff. It's everywhere. It's rampant in any system where people care a lot, you know, like I'm like, it's a sign that people care a lot. And if you take it as that, then it's easier to just like forgive when they happen to, they're swiping at the thing they hate and they catch your chin on accident. You know, like I just see it as an accident when somebody comes at me. I'm like, I get it. You're pissed off. Actually, me too. You know, and like keep being pissed off. I'm not going to tell you to calm down. Fucking LA's on fire. Or, you know, like it's shit is burning up. Like it's fine.
Florida's
that people
on fire now. Which is
it's like it's fine that people are pissed and like there's collateral damage, and like if that happens to swipe at me, I don't take it as a reason to change my opinions. You know, I'm like I still think I'm right even if you punch me.
Which is true, because you can punch a Nazi, which everyone's like, I'm into punching Nazis. And
Yeah.
As much as I want to be like, yeah, do that, they're going to be even more of a Nazi.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, for me, it's just the logical end to that, which I'm not opposed to, is just straight up guillotines for Nazis. Like, if you want to do the punch a Nazi thing, go kill one.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what you're saying, but you're not really saying, you know, like you're kind of like sidestepping the reality of what you're saying. Like if you want to deal in like real politic of violence, deal in it. Go get guns. I know a lot of communists with guns, and those are the coolest ones.
Yeah.
You know, like they actually fucking believe it, you know, and that's unpopular in a lot of those spaces to talk like that because
Because it's
like,
LARPing.
Yeah, because basically and like, well, when I say like people on the left need to start getting guns, people don't like that. You know, like it's like we've all been told for a long time that like only bad guys have guns.
Yeah.
You know, like this is the problem in America, is we have too many guns. Like, and I believe that. And at the same time, like if every like fascist state relies on basically cops with guns, doesn't that mean that having guns works?
Oh.
Like, you know, like I don't know. So I'll get killed in Portland for this shit.
Really?
Probably.
It is from afar.
Again.
From afar when I would watch
and
the
by
protest.
killed I mean scolded.
From afar when I would watch like a lot of the protests happening up there with the Proud Boys and the Antifa, you know, like it just looked like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
You know, like in the
Yeah, well,
street.
it's because
Like,
the fight that's happening is a media fight. You know, so
Yeah.
like it's not a real fight.
Like,
we're
finish
not-
it. If you're gonna fucking do it,
and that's the
finish
thing.
it.
It's mainly optics, and for me, I've never been interested in optics around politics. I'm interested in change. I'm interested in like real power systems. That's why I don't, you know, I'm like, I just don't really care what the president looks like. I care what the policies are around.
But the optics are
XYZ,
what's going to make the money.
You know,
for the corporations.
Yeah, and that like people have bought in like hook, line, and sinker on hearts and minds, and I'm like, actually, I don't really know if that's the deal. You know, like if this is such a weird thing to bring up, but on that Metric record, the really good one, like maybe their second record, Live It Out, there's like some really good lyrics on that record that I love, and my favorite one is just any speed on your knees is crawling. And like that's what this fucking like winning the argument thing is. I'm like, fuck the argument. Like, how do we make it so that like the federal government makes it illegal to do international banking? Like that would change the fucking world. That would like liberate the people who are already doing subsistence farming in the third world and let them just continue that instead of forcing them into a slum so that we can do big agri. That would fix shit. So like, how do we move towards that? You know, like how do we start electing people locally so that they can eventually be elected statewide so that they can eventually run for the presidency? Like that would be work worth doing. What's not worth doing is like getting on fucking live streams to yell at each other about who wore black better. You know, like basically like Proud Boys and Antifa, like to me, they're running the same game and neither of those games end with us winning.
There's no.
I'm like, what's the goal here? Like they're both just anti each other. They're not for anything.
The Antifa thing is just like anti-fascist, but now it's like a group.
But that's what I mean is it's just anti-fascist. What is it for? You know, and I don't get me wrong. I'm like, yeah, when there's like a bunch of fucking like crazy racist dudes in your downtown, go kick their asses. Yeah. Like I'm for that. Yeah. But I just like zooming out, I'm like, well, where are we going with all this? You know, like what are we doing? Is this political or is this social?
It's that like analogy when you're pointing your finger and there's three pointing at you. Like you're just
Yeah, and it just doesn't, it feels like an important social thing and it doesn't feel like an important political thing. That's the difference for me, is that people think they're doing politics when really they're doing social stuff. They're just doing like popularity stuff.
Social stuff as in like marketing themselves.
Yeah, exactly. yeah. And like wearing the right thing and saying the right thing. And, you know, like it used to be that we were in like a object-based economy. So like the way you would signal upward mobility is by buying objects that other people who don't have upward mobility couldn't afford. This is like gold chains, XYZ. We're now in an experiential, aspirational economy. So like how you signal your social status is through the experiences you can afford to have. And one of those areas for people who don't have much money is protest, you know, and that's on both right and left. And it's equally accessed by both right and left. Poor people who would have better spent their time organizing arm in arm to no longer be poor. But instead we have a system that through access to media and through like being able to have your own channel, basically, you
like
can
social media.
Yeah, you can now get social status through counterproductive stuff like that instead of like having to earn money and buy it, you know. And so either way it's shitty. Like the gold chain thing is a shitty social behavior that like basically just is meant to make other people who can't have what you have feel bad about not having it. Same with, you know, running up on each other in some park in Portland and screaming about your ideas that neither of you have any power to actually make happen.
Yeah.
You know, and so, yeah, it just doesn't really resonate with me. It's like a way of signaling what's important in your life. I want real power. You know, like if you're going to talk about politics, we want a plan to actually dismantle this government. Like that would be, not to have
one that serves everybody.
Yeah. Not have a new face of this same bullshit system, but how do we actually undo the idea of statehood globally?
Because I think like,
you know, like how would that work?
Totally.
You know, like,
but a lot of people were tripping out on like the emboldenedness of like the MAGA culture being like, yo, we can say the N-word now, and it's like. You could always say it. You could have exactly. Now you feel comfortable, and now we all know who the fucking asshole is. You know, it's like a little bit. Not that it's easier for. I'm not a person of color, but it's easier for me to identify. Like, oh, that's the real fucking piece of shit. Like, there we go. We got that.
Yeah, and that's like.
But it's still the same system that it was before.
Yeah, and it's basically like social contract being delivered. So like the social contract in America was a class-based one for 100 years, and in the last 15 years it has become status-based instead. And so like in order to maintain a level of comfort in the voting populace with the disparity of wealth, you either offer people a middle class or you offer them a gang to be in, you know? And so like right now we're in a gang culture. It's basically everybody gets to pick their gang and nobody can afford a house.
Yeah.
You know, and like our parents, like my parents, like boomer people, the social contract was about owning a house. You know, that's no longer the contract. So we have a new contract and nobody has negotiated that contract. We didn't agree to it. The people who agreed to it were the architects of the internet. It was Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel and all these like now out bigoted people, you know, not like, although Thiel is yet to come out even though he's definitely gay. He's out as a bigot though, so that's nice.
Help, we fucking need it. Huh? Okay, so let's cut this off in a second here because it's been about an hour. But metaphorically and then also like marketing wise, I have 2 points. I think since you're wearing chainmail, is that equivalent to like the gold necklaces? And if so, I think the whole band should wear that shit like Run DMC or something did, you know, and be like, yo.
We did take one hilarious photo of us wearing chainmail shirts that I made.
Chainmail crop top. I'm wearing a chainmail
It's
t-shirt.
so funny.
And Morty's wearing like this Mr. T.
Yeah, tons of huge
chainmail
chains.
necklace. We're waiting for the drop.
Oh, it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
I think that's
there
gonna
will
be
be the right day for it.
That's gonna be it.
Can't do it live though; it's too heavy.
You're gonna blow.
No, the
fuck
chainmail
up.
that I do, it's funny that you mention it because there is a class aspect to it. And like what I do is I make jewelry that was the same jewelry of the same types of patterns that were only accessed by kings and feudal lords, and I make them out of stainless steel, and it makes it affordable for anybody to get some jewelry. So it's just kind of a like reclamation thing.
I mean, it looks nicer than if it was in gold, but I know that you're.
That's the thing. I prefer the stainless steel anyways. You know, like it's like it's better anyways. You know, like scarcity does not equate value. Like luxury is just waste. You know.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, you guys. That was fucking wild.
Sorry.
No, sorry. That's
I'm
great.
glad you had a chance to talk to Bim.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
all right. No,
You play the
He's a
5150. Fuck you, man.
Yeah.
you're the rich guy.
Yeah, it has a gold handle.
Yeah.
There you go. Episode 52, Cult and Culture Podcast.
50 fucking 2.
50 fucking 2. I kind of said it because they're like Instagram handles like help I fucking need it. So yeah, the fucking part. Anyhow, I love those guys. I'm psyched that they're part of the 3NG family. They're just awesome people, awesome musicians, and they have a lot to say, obviously, as you just saw for the last hour. Yeah, so with that, we thank you, the listener and the viewer. If you haven't seen episode 51 back all the way to episode 1, you should probably go check all those out. We'd like to thank all of our awesome sponsors. We'd like to thank Andy and Becky. We'd like to thank the people that are burning the Tesla factories.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hey.
See you on episode 53. 50 fucking 3.
Yeah.
Cult and Culture is a Ruinous Media podcast proudly sponsored by Earthquaker Devices, Heartwork Coffee, Diodario, Kindred, Smashed Plastic Record Pressing, and San Diego Food Shed.
Planet B.